Indie and alternative, anti-brand as brand. The indie paradox, refusing the spotlight while designing it. Indie and alternative scenes sell a contradiction on purpose. The artist appears to reject marketing, polish, and performance as product, yet still delivers a highly legible identity. The anti-brand isn't an absence of branding, it's a strategy that signals taste, intimacy, and autonomy. After 2015, this paradox became commercially scalable. Streaming removed gatekeepers, but also flattened context. Listeners meet artists through thumbnails, autoplay, short clips, and a few seconds of vibe. Indie identity responded by becoming a system of restraint. Visual choices that look accidental, private, or improvised, while repeating consistently enough to be recognized. In the broader atlas of modern image-making, indie and alternative operate as the counterweight to pop maximalism and hip-hop symbolism. Where other genres amplify status, indie often amplifies distance, from celebrity, from mainstream expectation, from trying. The result is a recognizable set of visual archetypes built around understatement, friction, and believable imperfection. Core principle: credibility is the currency. The visual goal in indie and alternative is rarely aspirational. It's credible. Credibility is communicated through signals that imply the artist is making work for reasons other than fame, community, craft, obsession, or emotional necessity. These signals are not random, they form repeatable codes. 1. Under-designed design. Logos that feel like placeholders. Merch that resembles bootlegs. Posters that look like they were printed at a copy shop. Type that's slightly wrong on purpose. The point is not sloppiness, it's a rejection of corporate finish. 2. The refusal of a single hero shot. Pop marketing centralizes the face. Indie often decentralizes it. Cropped portraits, blurred photos, back-of-head framing, masks of hair, shadows, or distance. The artist becomes a person you're near, not an icon above you. 3. Specificity over spectacle. Instead of bigger, indie goes truer. A very particular sweater, a thrifted jacket with a history, a scuffed guitar, a room that looks lived in. These details function like evidence. They say, this is real life, not a set. 4. Anti-performance performance. Stage presence frequently reads as untrained or casual, standing still, minimal choreography, loose banter. Yet this non-performance becomes a signature. The lack of spectacle is itself a controlled aesthetic decision. The indie visual system. 4 building blocks. Indie identity becomes durable when it's built as a system, repeatable across album cycles, social platforms, and live shows, even if it looks effortless. 4 building blocks show up again and again. 1. Silhouette. In indie and alternative, silhouette is often a form of boundary setting. It controls access, how much of the body is revealed, sexualized, or stylized. Common silhouette patterns include oversized and softened, baggy denim, boxy tees, roomy knits, oversized outerwear. This silhouette can signal shyness, anti-glamour, or deliberate non-participation in pop's body-first economy. It also photographs well in candid angles, helping social media feel unposed. Thrift and texture. Secondhand proportions, slightly off fits, older cuts, layers that don't match perfectly, communicate lived experience. Texture replaces gloss. Wool, denim, worn cotton, leather that creases. The uniform, not the costume. Instead of looks, the artist has a rotation. The same jacket, the same boots, the same cap. Consistency becomes authenticity. A uniform says, my identity isn't reinvented each week for content. Color. Quiet palettes with one disruptive note. Indie palettes tend to be restrained, but rarely neutral in the corporate sense. The colors feel human, faded, muted, sun-worn, or artificially aged. Muted bases. Black, charcoal, wash navy, olive, brown, off-white. These tones read as timeless and anti-trend, allowing the music to feel outside the algorithm. One accent that becomes a hook. A single recurring color can operate like a logo without being a logo. Deep red lipstick, a specific green jacket, a pastel nail color, a neon pedalboard, a blue-tinted flash photo style. Album cycle tinting. Even indie artists who resist eras still tint projects subtly. Warmer film tones for a folk-leaning record, cold fluorescence for a post-punk phase, stark flash for a confessional bedroom album. The changes are incremental, not theatrical. Persona. Proximity, privacy, and the managed leak. Indie persona is often designed around controlled access. The artist wants to feel close, but not fully available. This creates a powerful dynamic in the social era. Fans don't just consume, they interpret. The relatable narrator, direct-to-camera intimacy, diaries, voice notes, low-stakes humor. The persona suggests you're hearing the artist's interior life, not a media-trained script. The elusive author, minimal interviews, cryptic captions, rare appearances. Scarcity becomes identity. Silence becomes a brand asset. An anti-content strategy that paradoxically increases attention. The accidental icon. Some indie alternative identities position the artist as someone who didn't seek the role. Styling suggests the same person offstage and onstage. This reduces the perceived distance between art and life, which increases the emotional credibility of the music. Media texture, the aesthetics of evidence. Indie and alternative lean heavily on proof-of-life visuals, images that look like they were found rather than produced. Flash photography and candid framing. Harsh flash, red eye, messy rooms, backstage corners. This texture implies documentation, not marketing. It's a way of saying, this happened. DIY typography and collage. Handwritten notes, imperfect kerning, photocopy artifacts, zines, layered scans. These are genre-native design languages that signal scene literacy. Lo-fi video grammar. Handheld clips, low light, grain, minimal color grading. Even when budgets rise, artists often preserve the DIY look to protect authenticity. How indie identity scales. Streaming, social, and stage. The anti-brand strategy only works if it survives platform constraints. Indie artists succeed when their restraint becomes recognizable at a distance. Streaming, the thumbnail test. In streaming interfaces, the album cover is a tiny square, competing with thousands of others. Indie covers often under-design, but the best ones still pass the thumbnail test through one strong decision. One photograph with an unmistakable mood. One object, one color cast, one type choice, one negative space composition. The cover becomes a mood gate. If you like this feeling, press play. The non-face cover is positioning. Avoiding the artist portrait can increase mystique and genre signaling. It also shifts focus to the world of the record rather than the celebrity. For indie, that world building, however minimal, can be the differentiator. Social media. Anti-content that still loops. Indie social presence often looks low effort, but it still needs repeatable patterns to be legible in feeds. The close friend cadence. Posts feel like updates, not campaigns. Tour photos, studio corners, lyric fragments, small jokes. The trick is consistency. Same framing style, same tone of voice, same level of intimacy. The controlled mess. Even chaos becomes a template. A recurring format, mirror selfies, flash pics, scribbled captions, creates brand recognition while maintaining the illusion of spontaneity. Community signals. Indie identity scales through association, supporting acts, producers, small venues, regional scenes, fashion micro-communities. Tagging, shared bills, and collaborative visuals become identity scaffolding. Stage. Authenticity must be readable from the back row. Indie performance aesthetics often resist spectacle, but live shows still demand visibility and coherence. The everyday silhouette that reads, a basic outfit can disappear on stage. Successful indie stage looks keep the everyday feeling while sharpening readability. Contrast, a repeatable piece, jacket, hat, boots, or a color accent that anchors the performer. Minimal staging, maximal atmosphere. Instead of big props, indie frequently uses lighting as identity. One strong color, haze, slow strobe, or a signature backlight that turns the band into silhouettes. Mood replaces choreography. Instruments as identity objects. Guitars, pedals, mic stands, and even cables become part of the visual language, often personalized through wear, stickers, tape, or distinct hardware. These objects function like totems, credible, practical, specific. The anti-brand archetypes inside indie and alternative. Within the umbrella of indie and alternative, several repeatable identity patterns show up across the post-2015 landscape. These aren't rigid categories, they're working models for understanding why certain visuals feel indie. 1. The bedroom realist. Aesthetic. Private space, soft mess, personal artifacts, codes, natural light, minimal styling, voice note intimacy, comfort silhouettes. What it signals: emotional honesty, low mediation, direct author-to-listener connection. Risk: drifting into visual sameness. Everybody's room starts to look identical online. 2. The art school collegeist. Aesthetic: design-forward DIY, zines, collage, wrong typography, curated imperfection, codes, mixed media, hand-drawn elements, archival references, conceptual merch. What it signals: taste leadership, scene intelligence, creative autonomy. Risk, looking like branding students rather than musicians if the concept outweighs the music. The post-punk minimalist, aesthetic, stark, hard-edged restraint. Codes, black heavy palettes, angular silhouettes, minimal facial affect, industrial lighting. What it signals: seriousness, discipline, distance, lineage. Risk, becoming a uniform indistinguishable from the scene's collective mood board. The soft iconoclast, aesthetic, gentle visuals with one subversive twist. Codes, pastel or domestic imagery paired with unsettling lyrics. Sweet styling with abrasive sound, tenderness with irony. What it signals: complexity, modern sensitivity, anti-machismo. Risk, the twist gets copied quickly. What felt unique becomes a template. The mechanics of effortless, designing imperfection without faking it. The audience for indie and alternative is highly sensitive to overcalculation. Yet the identity still has to work across commercial contexts. The practical solution is to design constraints rather than looks. Constraint 1. Pick one camera language: flash only, film only, handheld only, high grain only, or clean studio only. Consistency makes even casual images feel intentional. Constraint 2. Choose a uniform anchor. One recurring item: jacket, shoes, haircut shape, jewelry, glasses. Creates recognition without costumes. Constraint 3. Limit your palette. 2 neutrals plus 1 accent. This controls merch, covers, social posts, and stage lighting, without feeling like a corporate brand guide. Constraint 4. Build one repeatable graphic move. A scribble motif, a stamp, a specific typeface behavior, a border, a photocopy texture. One move is enough. Indie systems break when they try to do everything. Common failure modes. When anti-brand collapses. Indie visual identity fails in predictable ways, especially when scale increases. Accidental becomes generic. When the aesthetic is all vagueness, blurry photos, random fonts, thrift fits with no anchor, the artist becomes unsearchable. The anti-brand needs one sharp edge. Authenticity gets performed too hard. Trying to look unbothered can read as calculated indifference. Fans forgive effort. They resist manipulation. The goal is coherence, not disdain for visibility. Budget shows up as shame. Low budget can be a strength if it's owned as a language. It becomes a weakness when it reads as apology. Hesitant design, inconsistent imagery, unclear choices. Constraint beats scarcity. The scene uniform. Indie scenes generate strong norms. If an artist adopts every norm at once, same haircut, same black outfit, same flash pics, they disappear into the genre's wallpaper. A single differentiator is mandatory. What indie teaches the whole modern market. Indie and alternative prove that branding is not the same as polish. A visual identity can be powerful precisely because it refuses the usual signals of power. The anti-brand strategy, underdesign, restraint, controlled access, works because it aligns with a deeper promise. The artist is not a product first. But in the post-2015 attention economy, refusal must still be legible. The winning indie identities don't avoid systems. They build quieter systems. They make consistency feel like happenstance, and intention feel like personality. Indie's lasting contribution to modern artist image is this: the most scalable visual identity is sometimes the one that looks least scalable. The aesthetic of not trying becomes a language, one that, when handled with specificity, can travel from a tiny club stage to a global feed without losing its credibility.